We invited 16 young people ages 18 to 30 from South Africa and Guadeloupe into this artistic research process to explore the lived experiences of and to generate knowledge around climate injustice through this collaborative theater making process. While each group in South Africa and Guadeloupe did work independently, there was a lot of sort of synergy and informal and formal dialogue amongst the participants, a transnational knowledge exchange going on, sharing each other's experiences of climate injustice from their own narratives.
So in terms of the lessons from the project that we did with De Justicia and also YFAM, on what did we learn? What are the key lessons? I mean, first things first is that the state's reparative initiatives have lacked legitimacy, especially in Namibia among the Herero and the Nama communities. And this is also extended in terms of the Awa women in Colombia. Yes, there has been participation in the different phases of reparations, whether we're looking in Colombia in 2016, in the submissions that were made, whether we're looking at the ongoing discussions in Namibia, but the centeredness in terms of indigenous women's narratives, the centeredness in terms of the historically discriminated ethnic groups continues to be a challenge when looking at states' reparative initiatives in terms of the state's responses to communities, marginalized communities that are on the fringe.
I mean, I suppose the most important way in which our youth collaborators have shaped Theatre of Climate Action, TOCA, is they've been able to create links, to make links, transnational, temporal, sectoral links, join and connect the dots between issues of labor, of extractivism, and of transnational solidarities. And so for them to be able to pull that out of this process has been really instructive.
Secondly, when we think about racial injustice, it remains deeply embedded. And here we're talking about its mutations in terms of ethnic marginalization. And this continues to be embedded also in Namibia's development trajectory, including also Colombia. So when we talk about the indigenous communities further outside of the urban skirts, and also in terms of resource allocation and development, we know that the racial injustices from the colonial era and pre-independence, they've mutated in terms of these ethnic/tribal conflicts and also discrimination that continues to the day, whether we look at this in terms of the education system or the integration in terms of services of the state, but it affects the everyday life and it continues to be an issue. And then thirdly, we know that in both contexts, women's movements, whether we're talking about community-based organizations, whether we're talking about grassroots movement, we know that women continue to radically offer alternatives to dominant reparation models, whether we're talking about conceptualizing reparations, or signposting key issues that are specific to indigenous women's groups, whether we're talking about specific gendered mutations of violence, whether we're talking about other historical legacies that continue to affect the indigenous communities. So women are there and they continue to reflect this. But again, it's a question of being decentered in terms of the work and also articulations and claims to the state in terms of reparations.
The people who featured in the film shaped their own storytelling by carving out their own understanding of the concepts we worked with around belonging and home, as well as leading us geographically in the areas they wanted to be filmed in and being involved in the editing process.
What we learned that migrant domestic workers carry deep and complex stories that are often marginalized, not because they are silent, but because systems make it dangerous to speak. We also realized that storytelling, when done with care and respect, becomes a powerful tool for both resistance and healing. What comes next? We are working to share these stories through survivor-led advocacy, workshops, and dialogue with policymakers. The research outputs themselves will be used as awareness and training material across the region, Arab region, and African region, contributing to education and systematic change.
Our work reveals that systems of punishment and control extend far beyond physical institutions. The colleges show the existence of symbolic prisons in women's bodies, in their relationships, in imposed gender roles, and the violence they suffer every day. They also expose invisible but persistent forms of surveillance that discipline behavior. emotions, and expressions. While these systems seek to silence and homogenize women, collage reveals also how women resist this logic. Through collage, women make visible the complexity of their experiences and claim a space for diverse forms of resistance and subjectivity.